What's up, everybody? It's Cameron here.
Nicole on the floor with mangoes.
And once again, she's on the floor by her own choice, not something I've done.
Actually, he does not allow me to have a chair here, so
Yeah. Silence you. The floor with you.
yeah, I have a couple pillows, so it's fine. And it's carpet.
So today we're going to be talking about reincarnation.
I'm struggling.
You're fine.
It is my choice.
Today we're going to be talking about reincarnation. Do you believe in reincarnation?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
That was quick.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you?
Were you expecting me to disagree?
No, just
No, yeah, I believe in reincarnation.
didn't even get it out of my mouth. Well,
Yeah.
obviously reincarnation does fit into many religions and different cultures.
Right.
So this is obviously more from our Western Christianity view of things, but the definition of reincarnation is a person or animal in whom a particular soul is believed to have been reborn.
Yeah.
Later today in this episode, we're just going to go through some reincarnation stories to do a little bit of reincarnation or not.
Mm-hmm.
But first, I thought I'd go through some of the different religions that believe in it, maybe some of their philosophies on it, and then maybe a little more of a scientific look into, is reincarnation possible?
Okay.
So reincarnation is the religious or philosophical belief that the soul or spirit, after biological death, begins a new life in a new body that may be human, animal, or spirit, depending on the moral quality of the previous life's actions.
Mm-hmm.
There are two primary beliefs regarding the afterlife. One belief is based on the premise that as soon as someone dies in the world, they either go to heaven or hell, where they then live forever.
Yeah.
Their final destination is based on what they did on earth. So this is pretty much the Abrahamic religions such as Islam, Christianity, Judaism, some of the ones we're a little more familiar with on our
Right.
side of the world.
Okay.
Reincarnation is a central tenet of Indian religions such as Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism, as well as certain pagan religious groups like Wicca. So there are a lot of religions that believe in reincarnation as opposed to a heaven or hell.
Yeah.
So first, let's just look at Hinduism. I'm just going to go through the main ones I just listed and kind of their brief tenets real quick, and then we'll move on to some other things.
Okay.
So Hinduism. Hinduism is among the oldest religion in the world, and the majority of India's population adheres to it. Hinduism is arguably the most well-known religion that comprises reincarnation. Like every religion, there is a concept of a supreme being that keeps watch over the people on earth. According to the Hindu afterlife, death is not the end of a person's soul. Instead, it will keep coming back to life in different forms based on the intentions and actions of that soul during their life on earth. Hindus believe that the cycle of life and death is part of a journey that should ultimately lead the soul to salvation and oneness with God. To achieve this salvation, the soul must rid itself of all selflessness and bad intentions. All good intentions and actions during a soul's consecutive lives will contribute towards its progress. Exhibiting evil intentions and selfishness will result in a soul being mangoes on the floor.
I'm sorry. I was trying to eat them quietly, but then I felt rude, and then I tried not to chew this mango piece that I was eating, so I swallowed it.
Oh, we heard it. All good intentions and actions during a soul's consecutive lives will contribute towards its progress. Exhibiting evil intentions and selfishness will result in the soul being reborn into an animal with less liberty and less intellect to do better. After enough cycles, a soul should reach ultimate salvation called moksha, where the soul unites with the One and is free of the life and death cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Hinduism in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Jainism. Have you even heard of this one?
No.
Neither did I. Similar to Hinduism, Jainism is another commonly practiced religion in the Central Asian region.
Okay.
However, the concept of life after death in Jainism...
Wait. Can I ask you a question about Jainism? Is this one more recent? Or does this one also date back?
Most of these are pretty old. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure. I don't know for certain because I do pretty light research here and I'm not crazy, but I believe these are all pretty old religions. However, the concept of life after death in Jainism differs slightly. The word soul in Jainism is called jiva. It is believed that every jiva is immortal and cycles through millions of cycles of life and death, known as samsara. Jains believe a soul is responsible for its own life and death through the consequences of its actions. Souls can be good or bad and regress or move forward based on their karma, so similar to Hinduism.
Yeah.
After enough lives, souls may be liberated, reaching a stage beyond moksha, which is the one from Hinduism, so they're saying there's a stage after that.
Yeah.
Liberated souls are also known as siddhas. Cetas are the only souls that are truly free from the cycle of reincarnation. Cetas are believed to be the epitome of perfection. They can never be destroyed and are seen as being godlike. They do not, however, have powers to interfere with the living world, like a god may.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not every jiva can escape the cycle of reincarnation and achieve the state of cetas. In Jainism, non-liberated souls are separated into the following categories with a hierarchical number of senses.
Can I ask you a question?
Yep.
Do they also believe in like a higher being or a higher power that
well,
watches this cycle of recycling your soul?
In different senses, yes. I mean, it's more like for some like an all power or a oneness kind of thing.
I was just curious because like the end result is to be this godlike, perfect.
I mean, in many religions too, it's kind of joining that power and that oneness and returning to God in like a greater power. So, different concepts of that, of like, I'm not sure for these religions at all if it is more of an like overseeing all-powerful God, if it's more of just a power or a oneness. So I'm not too sure. We'll have to do. If you know, please write in to I'm Not Crazy Podcast.
Yeah, I just have a lot of questions.
And I have 0 answers.
Great.
So their liberated souls are broken down into categories, and based on those categories, accompanying senses.
Mm-hmm.
These are kind of hard to read, so I might skip that and just say one sense, such as plants and vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
Second sense, such as worms. 3 senses, 4 senses, then 5. So essentially just giving...
Wait, repeat the whole thing again, because you lost me.
In Jainism, non-liberated souls are separated into the following categories with a hierarchical number of senses. So like literally, I think our senses. So it's like stage 1, Ikandira souls, if that's correct, 1 sense, such as plants and vegetables.
So what, you start off as a plant or vegetable, or like
you can regress. It's all based on, again, karma.
God, can you imagine just being born into being a fucking cucumber?
Yes, because it seems easy. I just lay there and then eventually, oh my God, no! And I'm eaten, but like, what can I do bad? You know what I mean? I have to move forward to a worm, which is our second sense.
That's what I just wanted to make sure, is that you're either like this starting point is either like a plant or a vegetable or whatever growing from the earth, and then you progress into, which I don't know how you could be a bad tomato or eggplant,
Could just be rotten, to the core from the beginning.
Yeah, but is that really your fault?
I don't know. Next we have Benindira, second senses such as worms, so very basic creatures.
Yeah.
Trenindira, the 3 senses, doesn't say what. Charindira, 4 senses, and Panchradira, 5 senses.
But they don't really say what
they don't give me a breakdown from there. So so it's very similar to Hinduism with some different tenets. They have a hierarchy breaking it down, and also there's a level beyond moksha of actually breaking the cycle.
Okay.
Buddhism.
Cool.
The teachings of Buddhism also hold the concept of reincarnation.
Mm-hmm.
They believe a second life is merely the outcome of the life lived previously, similar to all these.
Yeah.
A person who does not live with his life according to the Buddhist teachings of selflessness and self-control will end up being reborn as an animal.
Ugh, that's going to be me.
Oh, you're pretty good, I think.
I have no self-control.
Well, if you're lucky, we'll come back as cucumbers and, from there, so get a clean slate.
I can't wait.
In contemporary times, thoughts are changing with regards to the Buddhist afterlife, and the concept of rebirth as an animal isn't widely held to. Buddhist scholars and writers do accept that karma is based on the thoughts and deeds of each person. Rebirth takes place based on deeds accomplished during one's life, but not the soul or essence of a person may not reincarnate as another being or animal. Want me to read that again?
Yeah.
Me too. Rebirth takes place based on deeds accomplished during one's life, but the soul or essence of a person may not reincarnate as another being or animal.
Why?
Rebirth can take place in 6 realms that may or may not include living on Earth. Each soul continues the cycle of rebirth until they are free from the desire and self-focused ideals, reaching a state of oneness with the universe. So this sounds like your concept of rebirth isn't necessarily another person, or it can't be. It's
right.
more of like, I'm moving on to the 6th dimension, 7th dimension. Like, this was my time on Earth.
It's just like another level of consciousness.
Yes. Yeah. This was my time on Earth, that I got tested here, and whatever I did here will base off like, my next dimension, I guess, karma.
Yeah. Your next life, your next
Spirit, energy, orb.
Yeah.
Sikhism. Sikhs follow the teachings of a guru. For Sikhs, the ultimate escape, mukti, is only achieved when they unite with God and end the cycle of reincarnation. That does seem to be the end game of many of these, is just to get good enough that you do not get reborn. For Sikhs, the process of reincarnation is a long series of births and deaths based on the principles of karma. Karma is a tenet of pretty much all these.
Mm-hmm.
A person with good deeds will be reborn as a better person, while a person with a past life of bad deeds will lead a miserable life after being reborn. So being born as a person, and this one is just person to person.
Yeah.
In the Sikh afterlife, it is believed that rebirth increases their chances of reuniting with God, as they certainly belong to Him and God lives in them. They reunite with God when He's happy with them, and so the chain of suffering and reincarnation is broken. So it's all just about living a good life, pleasing God, becoming one with His oneness. Kabbalah Judaism. There is a faction of Judaism that believes in reincarnation.
Okay.
The Jewish concept of reincarnation is divided depending on the school of thought. The only movement of Judaism that adheres to a form of reincarnation is the Kabbalah movement. And you might know people like such as Madonna. Celebrities that join Judaism seem to want to join the Kabbalah for some reason. It's the popular fun one. Not that they're hip and modern.
I was just like...
It's just the one for some reason.
Just the silence.
It's just the one they want. I don't know why. The Kabbalist beliefs of reincarnation suggest that the soul in a person's body once resided in another person's body in the past. 3 types of reincarnation are mentioned in the Jewish Kabbalah literature, including Gilgul, Ibur, and Dybbuk. Gilgul revolves around the concepts of transmigration, where a soul that was once part of another body is sent down to earth to reside in another body. Ibur suggests that a soul descends from heaven to assist a body on earth, so maybe not, like more of like a possession and maybe like giving you some power. And Dybbuk suggests that a guilty soul comes down from the earth to find rest. And you might have also heard with like Dybbuks and demons and stuff. I think
that's what I was gonna say. Isn't that
yeah, I think it's more of like an evil
entity.
Yeah, adhering to you. So it seems like there's one form that is literally the living soul of someone coming down into a body. Then there's one where it's like kind of a heavenly spirit or like a helping angel of sorts, we could say, or a demon inhabiting you.
So spirit guide of sorts. Could be
So
good or evil.
There are others. Again, I mentioned Wicca. So there are other religions in the world that do adhere to reincarnation. But those are the main ones I kind of wanted to touch on to give you, a little brief background on each. Pretty much it's a lot of moving forward or backwards, trying to break the cycle. Karma is important.
Religion's just such a funny thing to me.
It's a funny, fickle thing.
Well, it's funny in the sense that a lot of religions share a common theme, but yet there's such a great divide.
Even though, yeah, pretty much there's kind of...
There's such a great divide to prove who is correct and who has the power, the ultimate power. It's insane. But anyways, carry on.
Which is why this is Cameron from Cult Classics, Urban Hermit, and I'm Not Crazy, saying, be spiritual. Don't be religious. Religion is the politicization of spirituality.
Well said.
Look within. Earth's electromagnetic soul trap, the soul matrix. So this theory is going to go a little more into...
Wait, are we getting into the kooky?
Or are we getting into the science? Yeah.
Oh, this is the science. Okay.
No, this actual one isn't the science. This is the TikTok theory version of it, where essentially if you believe...
Oh my God, okay.
If you believe in an ancient alien theory...
That's you.
If you believe in maybe a matrix simulation theory...
That's you.
The thought being that we are being kept here and trapped. Maybe we're data. Maybe we are, just AI, and we're being repurposed.
So I'm just a series of zeros and ones.
Maybe.
You're telling me.
Or also maybe also with the ancient alien theory, there's things such as Thetan energy where people believe maybe we are just being kept here and trapped to somehow use our souls as energy for a higher being or an alien being, interdimensional. There are theories of that. So to get into this...
So you're telling me I'm living like a possibly like a real life simulation.
Possibly, that we're trapped
Which is awesome, but fuck.
Yeah, I mean, it's going okay. I'm having a good time with you. No complaints here. Nicole from the floor. Eating mangoes.
Not anymore, because I got looked at funny.
Just when you made that noise on the mic.
Well, it was either that or I was going to drool all over the carpet.
A popular theory that has been on my TikTok... suggests that the Earth's electromagnetic...
I like how You credit TikTok, but you didn't credit anything else.
No, this is where the truth comes from.
Oh my God. Okay.
On my TikTok suggests that the Earth's electromagnetic field is acting as a trap, keeping our souls in a reincarnation cycle. This would pose that some nefarious consciousness is keeping us trapped for some purpose. Could it be in line with the religious thought that we are being kept here to reach some sort of oneness or nirvana? Maybe this is just the actual physical realization and the scientific explanation of religion, kind of.
Thanks, TikTok.
Or could it be more deceptive reasons? Some simulation theorists believe after death we are repurposed or reincarnated to gather more data.
Can I just get the cheat code to Motherload?
Yeah, there are cheat codes on the internet. I've showed you them.
Are you talking about the Grab-A-Void codes?
Yep, there are cheat codes out there, people. We'll get into those someday.
Cool.
Some people think that it could be the Earth itself, somehow sustaining itself or living symbiotically off of our souls or energy. To give a little insight into that, astronauts who have been living for long periods in space have reported having recurring nightmares of falling towards Earth, but the Earth has a monstrous mouth to devour them. What is causing all these astronauts to have the same dream? Could it be
that we don't know that there's truly a core to the Earth?
Could be.
Could be just a void.
Could it be a warning from the Earth itself, warning its sustenance not to wander out of its reach? That's a theory I've seen a bunch on TikTok recently.
Oh my God.
In theory, the tunnel or bright...
I love TikTok, but I also love the fact that you're quoting and...
In this theory, the tunnel of bright...
Please throw some TikTok handles in there too while you're at it.
No, then if I cite this, I have to start citing and sourcing everything. In this theory, the tunnel of bright white light that people see in near-death experiences is the vortex or donut hole of the electric field that's drawing us in. Have you seen pictures of Earth's electromagnetic field before?
Probably.
So essentially, it's shaped like a donut, where from the south... Well, yeah, the South and the North Pole, where it's just an ongoing rotating... Yeah, Jesus. That's all you pick up on.
Donut.
Essentially, it's a vortex, though, where it's just constantly funneling in on itself.
Yeah.
So people think that this is the bright white light, that it's just drawing us back towards Earth to be repurposed. To break the cycle, it is believed that you have the choice to turn around from the tunnel, where behind you, you will see the entire universe. From there, you will be transported to whatever higher dimension that you originate from.
Is this like the out-of-body experience kind of thing?
Yeah, but it's also just going into afterlife, where essentially they're saying to break the cycle, instead of karma, you can just turn around. You can just be like, never mind, I'm done.
I think you've mentioned this before.
Yeah, it came up on TikTok. So now we're going to get into the science of it.
Okay. I thought we were.
No, that's the TikTok of it all.
Oh, you said the science earlier, but okay.
The quantum theory of reincarnation. Several eminent scientists of today suggest that it is possible that we've been looking at quantum physics from the wrong perspective. From the worldview of quantum theory, a new model of reincarnation has been developing, combining these theories with the idea that time and space may simply be a human construct. Reincarnation becomes not only possible, but a naturally occurring phenomenon. And you may have heard this before, that like time is not linear, it's all on top of itself. So I think this is going to be kind of going into it where our souls can be at the same place, multiple places, different times at the same time.
Like Quantum Leap.
Dun, 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 ba, ba, ba. Yeah. Dr. Jim Tucker spent 15 years interviewing young children who believed they had been reincarnated. The psychiatrist from the University of Virginia says that reincarnation is possible thanks to the consciousness being energy on a quantum subatomic level, which is simply contained in our bodies and not part of them. And this is something that's come up a lot in different, well, one, actual science, but two, I guess just the History Channel and TikTok of our consciousness might be surrounding us, kind of living in the ether, not part of us, and our brain might be more of an antenna.
Just getting waves and signals.
Essentially interpreting the data for our bodies, but consciousness might be outside of us. Exactly what consciousness is remains a mystery to scientists, with researchers struggling to pin down exactly what it is. According to some well-respected scientists, quantum mechanics allows consciousness to live on following the body's eventual demise. Dr. Robert Lanza coined the phrase biocentrism, which is a theory that the consciousness is released into the universe through subatomic particles after death.
Okay.
Dr. Tucker has adapted this theory and says that this stream of energy can find a new host. He said some leading scientists in the past, like Max Planck, who's the father of quantum theory, said that he viewed consciousness as fundamental and that matter was derived from it. So in that case, it would mean that consciousness would not necessarily be dependent on a physical brain in order to survive, and could continue after the physical brain and after the body dies. In these cases, it seems, at least on the face of it, that a consciousness has then become attached to a new brain and has shown up in a past life memory. So they're saying it's totally possible. The controversy boils down to the age-old question of the nature of reality. As Einstein, a firm realist, once asked, does the moon exist only when looked at? Although such a viewpoint seems unlikely in our everyday lives, in quantum mechanics, physicist observations can sometimes affect what they're observing on a quantum scale. As the famous Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics argues, we cannot speak about an object reality other than which is revealed through measurement and observation. There was an experiment done essentially where waves traveled and their patterns were different based on the scientist's observation, which brings in this whole argument of, and also kind of simulation theory. Like,
what?
It was a scientific experiment to see if observation changed the fabric of reality, kind of essentially.
Okay.
And it did. They were doing measurements of waves passing through a hole.
Okay.
And it behaved one way passing through when they were observing it, and the waves behaved differently when no one was observing it.
Huh.
And this also goes into a lot of people with simulation theory. Like Einstein, does the moon exist when I'm not looking at it? Some people think that maybe like literally only the view is being computed around us, and that's how you could have such a giant simulation. Only those who are living consciousnesses, only their view and spectrum is being created at a time.
So essentially when I look up at the sky and it's daytime and I see the moon, I would only see it because I want to see it?
No, it's more saying that if it's not there when you're not looking, kind of. That realities only be in existence in the eyes of the observer and your consciousness.
I'm conscious as fuck.
And this is me not explaining, well, one, not understanding it well or explaining that scientific experiment well.
Yeah.
Consciousness.
That's like saying like something dies. Is it going to decompose just because you're not looking at it?
Schrodinger's cat experiment. That is also a scientific experiment. The cat is both alive and dead. The experiment, he put poison in a cat in a box, and
cruel.
Yeah, but the whole experiment is like, well, is the cat alive or dead? And as long as he doesn't observe it,
well, it depends on the type of poison too. No, if it's an anticoagulant, if it's a
the answer to Schrodinger's cat is it's both dead and alive as long as it's not being as long as it's not being observed. Both realities are possible and happening.
Okay.
Without observation, the cat's alive and it's dead. Schrodinger's cat. Look that one up.
My brain. Okay.
The debate of consciousness in quantum theory began around 1927 when Einstein accused Niels Bohr of introducing a mysticism incompatible with science. Bohr denied the accusation and blamed it on Einstein's misunderstanding him when he said that humans are both actors and observers in the world.
Oh, true.
I agree with that a little more, maybe. Yet while Bohr believed that quantum processes occurred without need for observers, he also sympathized with the idea that the extension of quantum theory might help in understanding consciousness. In his latest book, Return to Life, Jim B. Tucker details some of the more compelling American cases he's researched and outlines his argument that discoveries within quantum mechanics, the mind-bending science of how nature's smallest particles behave, provides clues to reincarnation's existence. Quantum physics indicates that our physical world may grow out of our consciousness. So what do you think of the science of it all? It seems plausible. It's at least theoretically plausible right now.
Yeah, I guess.
You said you believe in reincarnation.
I do believe in reincarnation, but the science of it is a little complicated. I'm still trying to wrap my head around.
It's a little confusing. I'm bad at explaining it, but I've had a few more days to read it. And also, this bullshit comes up in so many different theories that I've had
that
this.
Like, is something occurring just because I'm not observing it? Just because we're taught that. I mean, things happen. Things go through their cycles. Things go through their process. So it is everything that I have learned a lie, essentially.
Did I just send you through an existential crisis right now?
I'm sweating a little bit, so maybe.
It's pretty hot in here. Claims of past lives. Now we're getting into it. Over a period of 40 years, psychiatrist Ian Stevenson from the University of Virginia recorded case studies of young children who claimed to remember past lives. Came up a little earlier. He published 12 books. In his cases, he reported children's statements and testimonies from family members and others, often along with what he considered to correlate to a deceased person who seemed to match the child's memory. Stevenson also investigated cases where he thought that birthmarks and birth defects seemed to match wounds and scars on the deceased.
Oh, I have a lot of birthmarks.
Sometimes including autopsy pictures to the kids and stuff in his investigation.
Cool.
So theoretically, you've been killed a lot or something.
Well,
stabbies accidents.
Well, I got one on my side. I got one.
We'll get back
on
to you,
my
people.
leg.
We'll give you a full count after the episode of how many lives Nicole's had.
A few.
Past life regression. Do you believe in this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, if I believe in reincarnation, it's kind of impossible to not believe in past life regression.
I believe in it,
feel like
but
they go hand in hand.
I just have a lot of skepticism of like the therapy of like the money making off of having people come in and say fanciful shit sometimes. We'll get into this.
Like the hypnosis and the
I just think there can be a lot of charlatans in this as well. And
yeah.
I do believe that there are possibilities of this for sure. But I think there's a lot of people just doing some mind trick guessing games. So in the West, past life regression practitioners use hypnosis and suggestion to promote recall in their patients, using a series of questions designed to elicit statements and memories about the past life's history and identity.
Mm-hmm.
Some people believe that memories, feelings, and even traumas from the past can still affect them today.
Oh, yeah.
You think so?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
You think there's things from your past life that are making you...
Yeah, 100%.
I don't think so. Or I think I was just dope in all my past lives, and that's why I'm so dope now.
Maybe. You're like kind of the opposite of me, I feel. Like in a sense.
What, in our temperaments?
Yeah.
Usually a client receives past life regression because they have some issue or problem they can't resolve.
Yep.
These are caused by baggage from past lives lingering around.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're all about this one.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think the psychology just around it too is pretty interesting too.
That's where I get also a little more skeptical. We're like...
I feel like it doesn't necessarily have to be like your past life. It could still be present day. Like if you put it in that aspect, like whatever trauma you go through growing up, it's still going to apply to you.
No, I agree with that, but I'm saying I think there could be cases where you're placing blame on a past life when there could be an undiagnosed something in your real life that you aren't addressing. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Where was I? So with that, now I have a bunch of reincarnation stories where we can decide reincarnation or not. So this comes to us from Reader's Digest. I'll cite a few of these because I'm
Reader's Digest. Okay.
I'm verbatim stealing some of these stories from online. So if it's a big publication, I'll maybe throw some creds in there if I have them here. When I was young, I changed your diaper, said the dark-haired boy to his father. Ron looked down at his smiling son, who had yet turned 2. He thought it was a very strange thing to say, but he figured that he had misheard him. But as a baby, Sam made similar remarks over the next few months. Ron and his wife, Kathy, gradually pieced together an odd story. Sam believed that he was his deceased grandfather, Ron's late father, who had returned to his family. More intrigued than alarmed, Ron and Kathy asked Sam, "How did you come back?" "I just went whoosh and came back out the portal," he responded. Although Sam was a precocious child, he'd been speaking in full sentences from the age of 18 months. His parents were stunned to hear him use a word like portal, and they encouraged him to say more. They asked Sam if he had any siblings, and he replied that he had a sister who turned into a fish. Who turned into a fish? Some bad guys. She died. Eerily enough, Sam's grandfather had a sister who had been murdered 60 years earlier. Her body was found floating in the San Francisco Bay. Ron and Kathy then gently asked Sam, "Do you know how you died?" Sam jerked back and slapped the top of his head as if he had a pain. 1 year before Sam was born, his grandfather had died of a cerebral hemorrhage. That's story 1. Brief and to the point.
Okay.
Want story 2?
Sure.
Just as I'll caution the listeners, I didn't proofread any of these. We're just winging this.
Yeah, so you get what you get. Sorry. So story number 2. The following is a true story. This case is different from the ones I've shared previously. It's unsolved, meaning no deceased person had been identified who matches the subject's memories. In fact, the subject of this story, a little Welsh boy named David.
Hello, I'm David.
Never explicitly claimed to have lived before.
First timer.
God. He did, however, experience the most unusual dreams, and they were truly disturbing. Around the age of 3, David began having reoccurring nightmares. In them, he stood at the edge of a dark hole filled with bodies. He was worried that he'd fall in and die. He described people wearing striped clothing and wandering around looking like skeletons with shaved heads.
Okay, so he was in a concentration camp.
They were prisoners, David believed. The stench of burning flesh filled the air, and in the dream, he always smelled something strange in his bedroom, even after he awoke. One day, David was visiting his aunt when she turned on her gas stovetop to prepare a meal. David's house had an electric stove and no gas-powered appliances of any kind. The smell of the burner sent him into a panic. He said, "It was like the smell of my room at night. It's going to smother me." Another clue emerged when David's mother suggested traveling to a holiday camp for vacation. He had never been to a campsite before, but instantly rejected the idea. "No," he said, "there is no happiness there. People are caged and cold and hungry and frightened. They'll never get out." Although David's mother wasn't Jewish...
Dark kid.
I know. Although David's mother wasn't Jewish, he believed that people in his dreams were. Without any known environmental exposure to Jewish customs, David seemed to know some specific details. He'd asked his mother if the food she prepared had blood in it. Once he pointed a synagogue and correctly stated that the people wore caps in there, even though there were no people from the synagogue around.
Yarmulkes.
He had a habit of reading and writing from right to left up until the age of 11. More disturbingly, David seemed both transfixed and frightened by the Jewish Star of David. Researchers believe that David's dreams matched the events that occurred during World War II at German concentration camps. These details are widely known amongst adults and even adolescents, but not necessarily among a 3-year-old children like David. David's nightmares matched even more horrific details about the camps, which typically reeked of burning flesh of the gas used in the execution chambers. At Treblinka, children were often pushed into deep pits and left to die. The emotional trauma of this childhood nightmares troubled David well into his 30s. As he matured, he come to believe that the dreams were indeed memories of a past life as a Jewish prisoner in a concentration camp.
Well, as far as past lives go, that's a shitty one to be drawn from.
Yeah. His connection to this horrific story took on deeper significance when ultimately he learned the man who raised him wasn't actually his biological father. David's mother had been unfaithful and gotten pregnant. She had an affair with a Jewish man. Psychologists who specialize in past life memories are divided about the significance of dreams like David's. However, when images materialize in our subconscious that are eerily accurate and yet cannot be explained through normal environmental exposure, perhaps they warrant more investigation. That last story was a very dark one.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being 3 and just...
I'll tell you someone who needs some past life regression therapy. That guy. I was killed and now I'm reincarnated as a boy, and I can prove it.
Prove it.
A 5-year-old boy claims that he was an African-American woman killed in a fire and reincarnated. Little Luke Ruhlman spooked his parents as he began insisting that he used to be a woman named Pam when he was just 2 years old. The young boy's mother, Erica, told Ohio's Fox 2 News that her son began speaking of a woman named Pam from a young age, but the family didn't know anyone by the name. One day, Luke finally explained who Pam was. He turned to me and said, "Well, I was." She continued, "Well, I used to be, but I died and I went up to heaven. I saw God, and then eventually God pushed me back down and I was a baby, and you named me Luke."
Okay.
The mother claims that her son often provided other spine-chilling details, including telling his family that he traveled on a train to Chicago, but the family, who lived in Cincinnati, Ohio, had never been to the city. He used to say, "When I was a girl, I had black hair." Or he would say, "I used to have earrings like that when I was a girl." She began looking into her son's bizarre claims when she learned of a woman named Pam Robinson, who was one of 19 people killed in a fire at Chicago's Paxton Hotel in 1993. The Ruhlman family was connected with the paranormal investigation TV show, The Ghost Inside My Child.
I'd watch that.
Whose producers also investigated Luke's shocking claims. While filming, Luke was shown a full-page picture with different black women in their 30s, one of whom was the late Pam Robinson. The child was asked to point to Pam and had no hesitation before choosing the right woman. Erica was finally pushed to contact Pam's family to learn about their late family member. she discovered strange similarities between her son and Pam, including their shared love for Stevie Wonder and playing the keyboard.
Okay.
Well, he's an icon. Who doesn't love Stevie Wonder? That's it.
Oh, that's it?
That's it.
That's very abrupt.
He's Pam. Luke's Pam.
It's always freaky to me when like kids
Say scary shit like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. They're always like horrific too. It's always
I know kids, they have like a vast imagination. Great. But if you're telling me specific details,
yeah.
like at the age of like 2, 3, 5.
Have you noticed
4.
that it's almost always something tragic? It's never like, oh, I died of old
it's
age.
something extreme.
It's always like car accident, cancer, concentration camp. It's never just like old age. I guess except for that grandfather, but he died of a embolism. So
Yeah. I mean, it's still painful and it's still
traumatic
not
and
a
sudden.
great death.
It's
Yeah.
always traumatic. It's sudden seeming.
Yeah. Born in Lebanon in 1954, Suleiman Andari recalled a previous life. As a child, Andari claimed to even know some of his children's names from this previous life. It should have been noted that Andari was born into a Druze family. Druze is an Islam-derived religion that believes in reincarnation. Andari also remembered coming from a village of Garif, where he had an olive oil press. Around 5 or 6, Andari's family heard him muttering the names of individuals in his sleep. He later claimed that these names were some of his children. At 11, Andari refused to lend a book because he remembered a policy in his previous life of not doing so. He later remembered the name Abdallah from his previous life. Over time, Andari chose not to talk about his memories because it led to teasing. In 1967, Andari visited Garif. In 1960,
I want to say G-Rife.
residents of Garif confirmed that a man named Abdallah Abu Hamdan, sorry if I mispronounced that also, owned an oil press and had lived there. Andari also recognized various landmarks while there. So that one's also abrupt. It's sad that he got teased.
Yeah. I did write this
But
down,
kids are
but
cruel too.
This
Adults
typically
too.
seems to happen to young children, and and their memories seem to fade away by like 6, 7, it seems. It's very rare that...
Is it like fade, or is it faded, or is they just repress it?
Possibly, or just forgotten. I mean, again, there's past life regression, and there are obviously cases of this in older age, but it seems far more common for this to happen with young children.
Yeah. I think it's because kids have no filter.
Possibly. As a 2-year-old in 2001, James Leninger made statements that he recalled a previous life during which he was an American World War II pilot. This is a famous one that's been in different publications that you may have heard of. This came after the boy's father took him to visit the Kavanaugh Flight Museum, so maybe incepted him a bit. The child later started having nightmares about an airplane fire. The same year, James claimed that he had flown his plane off a boat called Natoma in his previous life. James later identified in previous incarnations as that of Jack Larson. While looking through a book about Iwo Jima, the child even located where Larson's plane was shot down. Skepticism has been drawn on Leninger's case in recent years. Critics have argued that the case lacks explanation or evidential value. Additionally, critics argue that the boy's parents are mostly the ones offering up details. So this is maybe one of those that's been in news a bunch that it might just be parents, whoring out their kid.
Mm-hmm. Right. Dorothy Eddy. Dead girl comes back to life, knows the secrets she shouldn't. The reincarnation of Dorothy Eddy. Born in 1904 in London's Blackheath section, Dorothy Eddy experienced a serious fall at the age of 3. While looking at photographs at the British Museum with her family, Eddy saw a photograph of Seti I, an Egyptian pharaoh. Eddy claimed the place depicted in the picture was her home. She then walked around the museum kissing the feet of the Egyptian statues. At the age of 15, Eddy had a dream where she met the mummy of Pharaoh Seti I. Eddy claimed that the pharaoh made her remember her previous life. Eddy's odd behavior, including sleepwalking, resulted in her being placed in a sanitarium several times. Eddy later adopted the name of Seti and became a well-known Egyptologist.
Good for her.
I guess.
I'm a little skeptical of people who are like, I was a famous person in a last life, because I feel like there's been a lot of Marilyn Monroe's, a lot of I was JFK. Like, they're prominent people. A lot of people seem to cling to them or gravitate towards it. Although if we're going on the theory that time is not, is not linear and it's all at once, I guess theoretically we could be multiple people could have been Marilyn Monroe and are living consecutive life right now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Wild.
I'm a bunch of people. I'll do one more and we'll call it.
I think that's called multiple personality disorder.
No. In the late 1960s, a man resided with his wife at an Air Force base. In 1968, the man was involved in a parachute training exercise when he was dropped from a plane. Unfortunately, he landed too close to the airfield's edge and fell into a 15-foot deep pond, leading to his death. Several years after the man's death, his widow married one of his comrades. The woman later gave birth to a baby boy. The baby had both birth defects and birthmarks that appeared as rope-like marks around his legs. At 3, the child began to talk about falling from the sky, becoming caught up in his rope and dying. By the age of 5, the child had stopped talking about his memories completely. During his childhood, he lived on the base where the parachuting occurred and slept on a cot suspended from the ceiling with parachute ropes. His mother reported that the child knew nothing about his father's death. That one's a little weird that he came back as the child of his comrade's son. This one seems to be one of the first believable ones that you are on board. You do believe in reincarnation.
Yeah, 100%.
Seems like we're a little confused about the actual science of it, but hopeful that it's real.
Yeah.
And we hope we don't come back as cucumbers.
Yeah. Or
Well-
like an earthworm.
Well, thanks for listening to our take on reincarnation. If you like what you heard, make sure you like and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate and review. That helps greatly.
It does.
If you want more content out there, hit up the whole Majestic Jam Network, Urban Hermit for your banter and hangout, Cult Classics for movies. And until then, we'll check you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.